On to news from abroad now. It's not only in South Africa that we have winter power blues. The UK will be introducing blackouts this winter, or that's the talk of the town right now. A separate report suggests energy bills will be more expensive than first thought in the UK. Let's get more reaction now from our UK correspondent Chris Jones, who joins us from there. Chris, I saw the news break, I think yesterday, and social media in South Africa. Of course, you know our power woes over here. We've been living with blackouts for some time now, and the reaction was one of shock from many South Africans, saying that a local phrase would be, "Batong, UK has power cuts, what now?" It's not us in deepest, darkest Africa that are struggling with it. Lots of talk about this, quote, reasonable worst case scenario in terms of energy issues in the UK. What is that scenario, and how likely are they from coming to fruition?
Yeah, it's extremely worrying, this report, for millions of people right across the UK who are facing already soaring energy bills this winter. What we heard from this report is a worst case scenario, I guess you could call it, and that is being brought about potentially by the increased demand for energy and gas with a cold winter on its way. Essentially, people might be using more gas than the UK can supply, with the likes of Norway deciding not to export gas and oil and energy to the UK. So there could potentially be 4 days of blackout, of power outages across the UK because of this. And this is even after the coal-fired plants are ignited as well. And that's a worry for a lot of people across the UK. As you say, in South Africa, power outages are pretty frequent. But here in the UK, we barely see them at all. And when we do, they're solved really within minutes. So this 4 days is really quite a worry. The government, though, is very adamant that this is a worst-case scenario and is confident that it will have the supply. In fact, in a statement, it said that households, businesses and industry can be confident that they will get the electricity and gas that they need. Nevertheless, though, for millions of people right across the nation, this news that there could be a 4-day power outage is extremely worrying.
What has been the reaction from ordinary citizens in the UK? One of shock, I would assume, because over there, especially in the winter, many people think that they can't get by without their much-loved internal heating and the like.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely correct. It's shock, but it's also frustration and it's also anger. Parliament is currently on recess, and many people think that with the news that we've had that bills will be soaring past £4,200 annually by January, and with a recession around the corner and inflation expected to reach 13% by the end of the year, many people think that Parliament should be getting their heads together right now to come up with some kind of emergency plan. However, that's not likely to happen, at least until September the 5th, when we have a new Prime Minister in place. But there are a lot of people very frustrated and very angry across the UK right now, and worried because they don't know how they're going to be able to afford to heat their homes in a very cold winter. And they also now don't know whether they will even get that supply if this worst case scenario transpires.
Now, as with anything happening in the UK right now, everything feeds into that ongoing battle for the Tory leadership. Front and centre, of course, being Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak, who very publicly have been rather split on how households should be supported, whether it be the energy crisis or this rising cost of living crisis as well. Has there been any reaction from their two corners, as it were, to this latest news about this crisis of power that the UK is facing? And by a year, I mean the crisis of electricity, as it were.
Well, the reaction that we have had from both Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak has been rather limited, although the economy has been a big part in both of their campaigns. Liz Truss wants to essentially cut taxes immediately if she's brought into office. Rishi Sunak, however, wants to wait until inflation comes down, and he's been heavily critical of Liz Truss and her economic policy if she were to get into office. But the public has been very critical of both in the way that they've reacted to all of this news, especially when we heard the Bank of England raise its rates by 50 base points last week. We've not really heard much from either of them in terms of how they're going to help the economy right now. And that feeds into what I was saying a moment ago about frustration that the government doesn't seem to be acting urgently right now, and instead is having to wait until September the 5th when either Liz Truss or Rishi Sunak will take residence in number 10.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much, Chris Jones, our correspondent in London. Thank you so much for that update.